Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Sleep and Relax ASMR. This episode I will be reading some tongue twisters, perhaps not enunciating them the way that tongue twisters are supposed to be read, but that'd be kind of fun to try some tongue twisters. If I do a good job, you'll be bored anyway, and you'll probably want to fall asleep, and if I do a poor job, then you'll probably still be uninterested in hearing my fifth attempt at a tongue twister, and you will have no choice but to begin to relax and to sleep and to focus on the rest, and that's why you're here. But I'm here to read some tongue twisters to bore you to the point of boredom and sleep, and making people bored, getting them bored, basically not getting them to a place where they no longer want to listen to what I have to say, so they kind of just submit to sleep. It's kind of a specialty of mine. I think I'm putting it on my LinkedIn profile. Proficient at getting people to stop listening and fall asleep. In either case, I have here just over 50 tongue twisters that I figured I could try. So, no need to delay any further. Let's just jump into this episode. We begin with our first tongue twister. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, what's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? A classic tongue twister to start off this episode, and kind of a philosophical one in many ways, is where's the pack of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? It's not really a set philosophical question. Why is Peter Piper picking pickled peppers? The next one I haven't heard of before, so I'll probably struggle with it, but it goes like this. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter will make my batter better. So 'twas better Betty Botter bought a bit of better butter. Betty Botter. First time I've ever heard of that tongue twister. I only know one Betty, so this tongue twister probably got me to say Betty more than I have in my entire life prior to reading this tongue twister. This next one poses another philosophical question that we can ponder for a while here, and it goes: how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck he would as much as he could, and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Another classic tongue twister, just as famous, if not more famous, than Peter Piper the pickled pepper pickler. However, it may go. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? And why can't a woodchuck chuck wood? Is this some kind of sick joke that Mother Nature has played on him or her? Makes you wonder. So yeah, I'm not sure. You let me know. What do you think? Is this one or Peter Piper the pickled pepper pickler Piper a more famous tongue twister? However that one may go. I don't know it verbatim. Rarely do I have the ability to recall things verbatim. I'm more of a big picture kind of guy. Believe it or not, I did drama during high school. I only forgot probably 20% of my lines, but I did an okay job. I remember one time vividly I repeated the same line, and then I stumbled over my next few lines because my brain understood that I had just repeated the lines, and I had to just stop in my tracks, and I wanted so badly to correct the mistake, but of course the show must go on. I do not remember which play that was. Up next we have She Sells Seashells by the Seashore. Short and sweet. She sells seashells by the seashore. I have heard of this version, or I've heard of the version of this tongue twister where it goes, Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Now it makes me wonder if I'm making that up and maybe I misunderstood this tongue twister, but the mystery continues. How can a clam cram in a clean cream can? How can a clam cram in a clean cream can? Why would a clam have to cram in a clean cream can? I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. One of the easier tongue twisters for me personally. I think most would find this to be quite simple compared to some of the other tongue twisters on here. I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. You know, I've never really heard anyone stumble over this tongue twister. You know, I certainly have not done a scientific study of it, quantitative analysis. You know, I don't have a sample of 1,000 participants, but you let me know. On the tongue twister, I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. Have you personally ever stumbled over this tongue twister? I saw Susie sitting in a shoeshine shop. I saw Susie sitting in a shoeshine shop. The next one is connected to Susie again, and it goes, Susie works in a shoeshine shop. Where she shines, she sits, and where she sits, she shines. That one I had to be very careful because she sits, she shines. You know, there's a 4-letter word. Bad word, I don't want to mark this episode as explicit. So I'm not going to try that one again. But they have poor Susie just sitting around and shining shoes. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair. Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't fuzzy, was he? First two lines of this one are pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair. I really don't think anyone's gonna stumble over those. But Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't fuzzy, was he? I can see where it becomes a little bit more challenging. Can you can a can as a canner can a can. What is a canner? I'll repeat this one. Can you can a can as a canner can a can? Is there some kind of profession where you're just a canner? You're someone that cans together? I don't know. Can you can a can as a canner can a can? If that is indeed some kind of profession, or maybe it's a piece of machinery. Maybe it's an automated machine called a canner that cans or that seals them, perhaps. That could be what that does. I'm sure very few of us can a can like a can or can a can. I have got a date at 7:45. I'll see you at the gate, so don't be late. I have got a date at 7:45. I'll see you at the gate, so don't be late. A little bit, I wouldn't want to go on a date with someone that were so demanding about getting there exactly at 7:45. I mean, what if I'm getting off work right after, you know? I think there's a certain window that you can offer someone for a date. It's probably about 15 minutes. I think anything more than that, you know, the person isn't really respecting your time. But, you know, someone works somewhere and they have to drive a distance. You know, traffic and, or if they take public transportation, I mean, it could very well be that it's difficult for them if they get off at 6 or 7, for example, to get somewhere on time. I've never had that happen where I go on a date and I have to wait for more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Oftentimes I get to places 10 or 15 minutes early, and so I do end up waiting like half an hour, but I'd rather get there. You know New York, you need New York. You know you need unique New York. You know New York, you need New York. You know you need unique New York. I encourage you to try these in your head. Just kind of say them to yourself. Or whisper them to yourself, so that way your spouse or your roommate in your dorm room thinks you're losing your mind. And you just tell me you're listening to a guy reading tongue twisters. See how that goes. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. If a dog chews shoes, whose shoes does he choose? Very interesting question. A tongue twister, indeed. If a dog chews shoes, whose shoes does he choose? I would assume the most palatable ones, right? Cleanest, newest shoes, you'd think. What does the dog choose, I wonder? I thought of thanking you. That was a bit more challenging than I anticipated when I first glanced at it. I'll try it again. I thought of thanking. Oh, see, there you go. I just stumbled there. I thought of thanking you. I thought of thinking of thanking you. I thought of thinking of thanking you. So I thought of it. It doesn't make sense. Either you thought about it or you don't. Either case, it didn't happen. So why would you think you thought of something? Plus, wouldn't that make more sense if you say, I think I thought of thinking of thanking you? Semantics. I wish to wash my iris wrist. Jeez, now I'm starting to stumble on these. I wish to wash my iris wrist watch. First time reading this tongue twister. Interesting one indeed. If I had 1 or 5 Guinness, I wonder whether I'd be better or worse at giving this tongue twister a try. I wish to wash my iris wristwatch. Near an ear, a nearer ear, a nearly eerie ear. That was a little bit more difficult to say than it is to understand the tongue twister. Near an ear, a nearer ear, a nearly eerie ear. Eddie edited it. Eddie edited it. This one isn't as difficult in terms of real skill level required. I feel it's more difficult in the sense that I have a hard time pronouncing or moving my mouth to properly enunciate the tongue twister. So it's not as in the tongue twister. It's not so much the tongue twister that is difficult to say. It's the way I need to move my mouth and vocal cords to properly enunciate it, which is hard. Willie's really weary. A big black bear sat on a big black rug. Why would it go, a big black bear sat on a big black rug? I think if you put a word like brick at the end, it would be harder to say. So a big black bear sat on a big black brick. You know, I think in terms of reading it and in terms of saying it, it would be much harder than a big black bear sat on a big black rug. But, I mean, you could replace it with another 4 or 5 letter word beginning with B. You know, like it could be a big black bear sat on a big black book. That would also be harder to say. Thinking what else? A big black bear sat on a big black barn. Yeah, I don't know. I still think it'd be more challenging. A big black bear sat on a big black brick. But, I don't want the bear to get hurt. So. Tom threw Tim 3 thumbtacks. Tom threw Tim 3 thumbtacks. He threw 3 free throws. It's kind of a short but tough one. He threw 3 free throws. Again, it's hard for my mouth to enunciate it, but it's definitely a substantial, I don't know what word I'm going for. It's a tough tongue twister. It's a tough tongue twister. That itself was kind of a tongue twister right there. It's a tough tongue twister. It's a tough tongue twister. Sleep and relax ASMR, making new tongue twisters every day, mumbling and putting you to sleep. That's one is kind of short, but I think will be difficult. 9 nice night nurses nursing nicely. 9 nice night nurses nursing nicely. The ones that I think are more difficult for me are the ones that the sentence itself is hard to understand the first time you read. 9 nice night nurses nursing nicely. Because the next one is kind of hard. The next one is easier for me to say, I think, because the sentence itself is not that hard to comprehend. And it goes, so this is the sushi chef. It's obviously a tongue twister, and it's not like it's the easiest thing to say. But because I can picture, okay, the sushi, I don't know, because the sentence structure is such that I can understand what I'm reading. Whereas the first time I read 9 nice night nurses nursing nicely, my brain doesn't really comprehend it the first time. It's the same thing with the next one, which is easier for me to read and understand because I can picture it in my head, which is 4 fine fresh fish for you. So I just imagine, someone receiving a plate of 4 fresh fish. 4 fine fresh fish for you. Wayne went to Wales to watch walruses. Are there whales? Are there walruses in Wales? 6 sticky skeletons. 6 sticky skeletons. 6 sticky skeletons. This one and the next couple are supposed to be read 3 times to get the effect of the tongue twister. Which is which? Which is which? Which is which? Which is which? So the distinction there is WHICH, which, and then which. Which, the second which is WITCH, like a witch on a broom, is which. WHICH. Snap, crackle, pop, snap, crackle, pop, snap, crackle, pop. Flash message, flash message, flash message, flash message. Red Buick, blue Buick, red Buick, blue Buick, red Buick, blue Buick. You can see where some of these get hard as you have to repeat them. Red Buick, blue Buick, red Buick, blue Buick, red Buick, blue Buick. Red. No. Yeah, okay. Red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry. Thin sticks, thick bricks. Thin sticks, thick bricks. Thin sticks, thick bricks. Stupid superstition, stupid superstition, stupid superstition. 11 benevolent elephants, benevolent. That's what's kind of hard. 11 benevolent elephants, 11 benevolent elephants, 11 benevolent elephants. That kind of hard. Two tried and true tridents. Two tried and true tridents. Two tried and true tridents. Rolling red wagons, rolling red wagons, rolling red wagons. Black back bat, black back bat, black back bat. She sees cheese, she sees cheese, she sees cheese. Truly rural, truly rural, truly rural, truly rural. Good blood, bad blood, good blood, bad blood, good blood, bad blood. Pre-shrunk silk shirts, pre-shrunk silk shirts, pre-shrunk silk shirts. Definitely the ones that you have to repeat are the ones that I think can be just as challenging, if not more challenging, than some of the longer ones. Especially the first couple that we opened up with, like Betty Butter, Bitter Butter, and Peter Piper, Pickled Peppers. We have a couple more. We have a few more tongue twisters on here. We surely shall see the sunshine soon. We surely shall see the sunshine soon. I think this next one is going to be tough. Which wristwatches are Swiss wristwatches? Which wristwatches are Swiss wristwatches? Fred fed Ted bread, and Ted fed Fred bread. A skunk sat on a stump and thunk. The stump stunk, but the stump thunk. The skunk stunk. Lesser leather, never weathered, weather better. Lesser leather, never weathered, weather better. Better? Of all the vids I've ever viewed, I've never viewed a vid as valued as Alex's Angvid vid. Angvid vid. Very weird. Last couple ones here. All I want is a proper cup of coffee made in a proper copper coffee pot. I may be off my dot, but I want a cup of coffee from a proper coffee pot. Try that one again. A bit of a challenge. All I want is a proper cup of coffee made in a proper copper coffee pot. I may be off my dot, but I want a cup of coffee from a proper coffee pot. Two tiny timid toads trying to trot to Terry Town. Eve eating eagerly elegant Easter eggs. This is the last one we have on here. These 1,000 tricky tongue twisters trip thrillingly off the tongue. I, of course, stumbled over the last one. These 1,000 tricky tongue twisters trip thrillingly off the tongue. And there you have it. Well over 50 interesting, fun, boring, meh tongue twisters, depending on how you want to view it. And however you want to view it, it's cool with me. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this concept. I'll make sure to repeat it again in the future if you enjoyed it. You can always let me know your questions, comments, suggestions to hello@sleepandrelaxasmr.com. That's all for this episode. Thanks as always for listening, and take care.